Dr. Liz and I typically tackle topics to help couples, but today we bring on a therapist who offers help and hope for singles who are dating for fun or longing for love and marriage. On today's episode, we welcome Stacy Hubbard to the show to talk about tips for singles when it comes to fun, trust, commitment, and so much more. Our guest today is Stacy Hubbard, a licensed marriage and family therapist with over 25 years of experience helping individuals and couples thrive. She earned her master's in counseling from Portland State University and has spent the past 2 decades using the Gottman method, becoming certified 13 years ago and a master trainer with the Gottman Institute in 2016. Stacy trains other therapists, works with couples in therapy, and even teaches a singles course she developed based on the Gottman approach. She lives on 10 beautiful acres near Ashland, Oregon, with her husband and their 4 dogs, and loves hiking, kayaking, sports, and travel. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome to Stronger Marriage Connection. I'm psychologist Dr. Liz Hale, along with the beloved professor, Dr. Dave Schramm. Together, we have dedicated our life's work to bringing you the best we have in valid marital research, along with a few tips and tools to help you create the marriage of your dreams. Well, today's segment, Dave, I love this topic. We're dedicating it to singles.
So good.
Today's guest, it is so good. Today's guest and I have something in common. We were both single for a very long time, even as practicing marriage and family therapists. So she's a woman after my own heart. What I greatly admire about Stacy Hubbard is that she took matters into her own hands. As a licensed marriage therapist, a certified Gottman therapist, and a master trainer for them, she teamed up with the Gottmans and many of their key leaders to create an intensive workshop for singles dedicated to building healthier relationships in the world. So we're going to talk about healthy dating with the support of science and more. Stacy, welcome to Stronger Marriage Connection. The way we date really matters, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yeah, thanks for having me. I need to talk about it.
Yes. And how so? How does dating, how we date, how does that really matter in a nutshell?
Well, one thing that I've really learned in creating this workshop for singles, and all the time I've worked with couples and singles throughout the decades here, is just the importance of building friendship at the beginning of dating and taking it slow. I mean, that's one thing that we can talk more about the kind of science behind why that's important. But building friendship and fondness and admiration, creating love maps when you're new into dating somebody. And as we'll talk about, the principles that we really focus on in the Gottman approach and in the singles course is that you want to be able to apply these skills to friendships, to family relationships, to coworkers.
Any relationship. I love this. I don't know why I didn't think about this before, Stacy. You know, we'd all love to hear how did this start? This is called Lessons in Love for Singles. You and your marriage status played a crucial role, as well as did the doorman in a Manhattan hotel.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the origin story, as I call it. Any superhero movie has a origin story, right? So I was teaching a couples workshop in New York City in Manhattan. And it's the Art and Science of Love, the couples workshop, right? So I was facilitating that, but the doorman at the hotel was asking about the content in the workshop. And so I told him all about it, and he was really excited. And he said, "Can I go to one of those?" And I said, "Well, actually, you have to have a partner." And he said, "Oh, that's too bad. I don't have a partner right now. And I think this would be good for me to learn all this stuff." And I said, "Yeah. Well, best of luck." And, again, at that time I was single. So this was 10 years ago now. So on the flight back home, so I live in Oregon. So I was flying on a red eye back to Oregon. And I was like, "Oh, you know what? That doorman has a good point. Like, this is important content." And at that point, there was no like interactive actual workshop for single people. So I said, "Well, let's think about how this could work." And I sort of created an outline and talked with Dr. Dave Penner, who was the clinical director at the Gottman Institute for a very long time. And he was immediately like, "Yep, sounds good. Write it up. Let's keep moving." And we worked on it together for for quite some time to kind of get it up to where it is now. But that was the origin story. So it's a doorman and a red-eye flight home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be nice if we could find that doorman, right?
Yeah.
Again, I say good news, whether he's married or single, we got something for him.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Stacey, the main goal in helping singles is to help them date in order to help them marry. But so this suggests that maybe dating to marry isn't always, I guess, the goal in the dating world. Is that right?
Yeah, good question. So it's kind of broad, because some people are dating to marry. Absolutely. They're looking for commitment and to, build a life with somebody. And then some people are maybe just wanting to more casually date, or they're not sure what they want, or they have come out of a, kind of a difficult or a traumatic relationship and they just want to explore dating. Or maybe they're newly divorced and they want to start dipping their toe back in. So there's a wide range of people that take the course. But I think the key part is how those principles that we learn in the workshop translate again to all friendships, family relationships, et cetera, et cetera. And some of the science behind trust and building trust, and how the early phases of dating, when you're in that, we call it the honeymoon phase, there's this oxytocin haze that kind of takes over. There's those sort of dopamine and all these chemicals that flood our system, and it feels really good. And that's awesome. And also, when you have high levels of oxytocin, you are more trusting. So there's some research behind that. So that's why it's important, and we encourage people to, take things slow, to not kind of rush into a bigger commitment in that early honeymoon phase. So long answer, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense for sure.
I just love this concept that the Gottmans, their great research can apply to any relationship, single, married as well. And how can singles set that foundation for love, Stacey? Or what are the common dating practices maybe that even should be avoided?
So one thing that we encourage in the workshop and in the research that I did for the workshop is to take things slowly, meaning dating, but also keeping in mind the 5 signs of trust. So these are Dr. Gottman's sort of 5 signs of trustworthiness that he writes about in the book What Makes Love Last, which is one of my favorites. So there is honesty, transparency, proof of alliance, meaning that person will have your back and be there for you when you need them. Ethical actions. Now I'm forgetting. Trust, transparency, ethical actions, proof of alliance. I'm going to have to look at that.
That's the 4 and the 5, though. That's beautiful.
So that takes time to kind of build and to really dig into, can I trust this person? Kind of the essence is, are they going to have my back? Will they be there for me? Can I count on them? Do I matter? And that does take time. So with that in mind, encouraging people to take things slow, and also kind of keep in touch with their friends, right? Or family, invite them in, like meet this person I'm dating, or I'm processing and talking with my friends when I'm dating about this person, and are they trustworthy? Because that really is so crucial.
That is very cool. Accountability might have been the other one. Accountability.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. I had to look it up. So that was really very cool. It's very powerful, actually. And I have to be honest with you, I didn't date my husband a long time before we married. And some of these things, thank goodness, kind of showed up after the fact. Yep. You know what I mean? But I am grateful for when they do show up every single day. It just deepens that love and affection. But do we have any idea like how long it might take then to foster this? I didn't follow any kind of particular rule. Stacey, is there a rule for how long one should date, according to Gottman's, to be able to maybe see some of these things before you make that big commitment?
Sure. So there's not a hard and fast rule, but what we know that oxytocin kind of haze or the dopamine, that whole honeymoon phase, it's anywhere from like 6 months to a year, year and a half. So anywhere in that range. I mean, once there's really, you're getting over what we call that haze, which again, it's fun, it feels good. And I always say, thank heavens that it ends at some point, because otherwise nothing would get done in the world, right? It's hard to focus. You just think about that person all the time. So when that starts to kind of fade, again, that's where you're starting to build trust and figure out, do they have my back and are they accountable? Like, so that range, 6 months, a year, year and a half is usually a good marker.
Wow, that takes some time, doesn't it? That was just for the haze to wear off. Did I get that right?
Yeah, and again, that's different for everyone. So there's no hard and fast rule. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, thinking about that, it gives people an opportunity to see them in different situations outside of just the fun and the love. You see, okay, yeah, maybe when we go out or there's money involved in purchasing and habits, and then you see them maybe when they're tired and cranky, and not just, bing, they look like $1 million every time. And so you get to see them in different, maybe even seasons of time of day and weeks and months as that goes on, as you develop that friendship and that trust, like you're saying. So, but yeah, I agree with Liz. Kind of that just kind of depends. It feels like some just take a little bit longer than others, but really making time to get to know that person beyond the superficial, right? Being of that person.
We'll be right back after this brief message. And we're back. Well, let's dive right in.
Stacey, let's talk about the 3 phases of love. You mentioned this. I'm assuming this is part of the workshop as well. Phase 1 you talk about is limerence. And that is probably a term that very few, unless you're like going to, the school and you're taking human development, family studies types classes or things. Can you explain what limerence is?
Yeah. So limerence is that technical term for the honeymoon phase, when you are in that oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin haze that it kind of feels like a drug, because it is, right? It's that pleasure center in your brain releasing those, chemicals and hormones. So it is that early phase when everything is wonderful and you can, think about that person all the time and you like the way they smell and you can't wait to be with them, and that kind of that attraction. So that's the first phase.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then what about phase 2? What about phase 3?
So that is the all important trust building phase. So this is where people are trying to determine, does my partner have my back? Can I count on them? Are they going to be there for me? And so Dr. Gottman, when he was writing What Makes Love Last, he went back and reviewed all the research and his recordings in early research, and really what couples were saying in that kind of all important phase is, they were kind of saying like, do you have my back? In a nutshell. So the importance of trust building is that's kind of where you determine that. Now, so that's the phase where the most fighting occurs in that early stage, because, and not that it always happens, sometimes that trust building is really smooth and it's really obvious, but that can be where the most fighting occurs, because people are trying to like, am I important to you? Do I matter? So that is an important transition that a lot of people they're not aware of it, or they may skip to the third phase, which is commitment, without truly building trust. So I had a couple that I worked with where they went kind of from the oxytocin, got engaged really early, jumped to the commitment, but they didn't build that trust. And so I was luckily, we were in therapy before they got married. They were engaged, but they were really having all that fighting. And when we looked at the 3 phases from a bigger perspective, they realized like, oh, like we got to slow this down. We didn't build trust. We need to build trust. And so we worked on that in therapy. So the trust building, the question.
Well, that's interesting. So you can actually kind of go backwards and pick up what we jumped over.
Yep. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And how did you do that? I'm curious. What did you do to help this couple, or what did they do? Was it a matter of putting themselves in different scenarios like Dave suggests? I think that's such a great idea.
So that was part of it. What we had to do, because one way to build trust is attuning to your partner's negative emotions, which is important. And there are times where people have what we call a meta emotion mismatch. So what that means is meta emotion is how you feel about feelings, right? And so if there's a mismatch and one person really wants to talk about and process feelings and the other person is kind of dismissive or avoidant of feelings, that can be a big clash. And so part of that with that couple was actually digging into the meta emotion history for each of them and trying to build the ability for both partners to attune, which means turn toward your partner when they have negative emotions, when they are sad or scared or angry. So that's a way to build trust in relationship. We also worked a lot on some of the friendship stuff around fondness and admiration, just really slowing that down. So that's right. It's been a while, but that's what I remember anyways.
Wow.
I'm
That
curious.
is very cool. And did they end up getting married? Sorry, Dave. I'm so curious. Did that couple?
Yeah, from what I remember, yes. I'm going to say yes. Yes, they definitely got married.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Stacey, I should have asked this earlier. Give me a better sense of the workshops themselves. Length, are they virtual or are they in person?
Sure.
The couple or singles, I guess, the audience size, those types of things.
Yeah. So let me give a kind of a history and that'll answer your question. So we did our first actual workshop in person in summer 2016 in Seattle. And so that was Dr. Dave Penner and myself. And that was kind of our test workshop. And that was, I think 20, somewhere in that range, 25 people, because that was our pilot and it got really good feedback. So we made some adjustments and then started doing bigger and bigger in-person workshops in Seattle. They were always in Seattle. So I would fly up there and Dave and I would present together. Those grew to, our biggest one was, I think we had a little over 100 people in the room. And then we did also have a live stream at the same time of 200 people from all over the world. So that was our biggest one. And then this is all kind of leading up to COVID. So from like 2016 to 2019, early 2020, we were doing them in person. So we did our last in-person one it was actually late February, early March 2020. And then we transitioned into doing them on Zoom. And now we do them, usually it's around probably 60 people on Zoom when we do them through the Institute. But people are now being trained to present them on their own. Like, there's a leader course that people can take to teach other singles or, to teach singles how to be effective in relationship. And so those are both virtual and in person. So it's both options at this point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. It helps kind of set all this context up for what you're curious about. Just your go-to tips. Do you have, there's singles maybe you're listening right now and they're like, okay, I've got to, it's the honeymoon phase and then learning to trust and then commitment. Do you have any kind of go-to tips for singles who are listening or maybe in the midst and they're a little hesitant or man, I've been in this for now, it feels like for years and I'm going through the cycle. There's nobody good out there anymore. What tips do you have?
Yep. So one important thing is the importance of mate value versus unique value. So this was from research done out of the University of Texas. And this is the difference between mate value and unique value is this. Mate value is that like kind of initial immediate first impression of somebody, kind of almost like a attraction or almost like an animal attraction to somebody, versus the the unique value is something that develops a little bit more slowly and over time, where you start to realize, oh, yeah, they're really funny, or we have a lot of things in common. And oh, I feel the same way about that. The kind of like the values, the interests that may take a little more time to sort of develop. And that's actually how my husband and I got together. So, in terms of my story, if I can insert that here, is I was single for 8 years in my 40s, also living in a kind of smaller town in Oregon. Not a lot of options. It was difficult, right? I always normalize that for people. It's like, dating is hard. Internet dating, hard. All of it. It's difficult. It's a process. You got to be kind of hardy and sturdy to persist. But so I was kind of, my late 40s, and my husband obviously we were just friends at the time, but we went to the same CrossFit gym, and we got to know each other over years, like little conversations at the gym. We started then going on sort of group outings. We would go, like a bunch of us would go to a movie or a concert, or we went like axe throwing and, comedy shows, that kind of stuff. So over time, we kind of started to figure out we did have a lot in common and had a lot of the same kind of values and goals and beliefs. And so that kind of slowly evolved. And we started dating and got married. And so that's one important thing, is that I guess the long and the short of that is when dating, to kind of have that more approach about like discovering the unique value of somebody, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
And friendship. I mean, what a sweet beginning to have that kind of association. It didn't start off as romantic, right? It was just, we were like-minded a bit, worked out of the same place, and singles got together. I think that's just really a beautiful love story.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky. We say that every day.
Pretty lucky, yeah. Yeah, and even then, right? Even then, marriage is still work, right? We talked about dating as work, and being online dating as work. I met my husband online as well, and I wouldn't have dated without that. Because we're not going to date our clients, right? We're seeing married people for starters. Plus, we're not going to date our clients. But it's just like, where do you meet? Where do singles meet? So, what were okay, Stacey, do you mind? What were some of the surprises in marriage? Even then, even when you're so trained and did the singles program, were there any? I certainly had my share.
Oh yeah, yep. It's ongoing. People always, it's hard. We are very lucky and blessed to have found each other, but there are still hard moments of learning how to manage conflict and each other's styles of conflict and styles of emotion and how those are expressed, because we have a different family history. So we always say in the Gottman method, every relationship is a cross-cultural experience, because it doesn't matter if you grew up on the same street, same religion, race, culture. If you grew up in a different family household with different beliefs, values, rituals, symbols, etc. So it takes some time to get to know that in a lot of discussions, how things should go. And then life stressors and learning how to manage conversations about that. So I'm, even being a highly trained marriage therapist, there's still conflicts we have to work through. So repair is probably one of my favorite kind of takeaways, from when I work with singles and couples, is being able to repair either in the moment or after the fact, saying things like, I didn't mean for it to come out that way. I regret what I said earlier. Can we talk? Or, hey, like, let's slow this down. Things are getting a little heated. I want to understand what's going on for you. Somehow we're kind of reaching across that divide to keep the conversation going. Those repair tactics are really helpful.
Mm-hmm. And did he also like the Gottman approach? It was my husband, like he's not read one marriage book, right? It's just not his thing. Nor does he really need to, in my belief system anyway. So it's when I just kind of keep myself in check, things go so much better. But was he interested? Did you do trainings together? I'm so curious.
Good question. So he doesn't formally have any kind of understanding of. When we talk about the Gottman method, he actually kind of follows the Gottmans on social media, and so he kind of sees more of that stuff than I do because I don't really do social media. But he, so his understanding of it is kind of rudimentary. But what I will say, he, without knowing it, was doing a lot of this work before we started dating. Like learning how to be a good listener, how to ask good open-ended questions and be kind of a more curious listener. He was doing a lot of that work on himself before we even got together and having his own kind of self-care practices, physical activity and Tai Chi. And so he kind of has a different approach to it. And then now he's actually now a certified alcohol and drug counselor. He kind of had a career change. He's sort of in the same field, but with a different focus. So yeah, we have a lot in common and a lot of differences too, but it's great.
No wonder you kind of found each other. You were both interested in really self-improvement, and trying to understand, to show up as the best kind of human being that you can. That's quite lovely.
We'll be right back after this brief message. And we're back. Well, let's dive right in.
Okay, let's just ask one more here. Sorry, hogging the time here. What about a favorite tool for either singles or couples? Stacey, you mentioned the reparative work. I love that. I love the repair checklist that the Gottmans have had for years. My checklist is so old that I give to every couple I work with, but I love it. What other tools do you find helpful, whether you're single or married?
Yep. Great. So one thing that I wanted to mention is that in that third phase of relationship, the commitment phase, is in that phase when you really commit to somebody, it's kind of believing and acting on the belief that this is my person and we're going to get through the hard times. In that phase, we see that couples, when they're doing it successfully, we call this true commitment, they are cherishing. So they're thinking pro-relationship thoughts instead of trashing or negative relationship thoughts or comparisons. So that's one thing that I really try to do, every day if I can, is to think cherishing thoughts and pro-relationship thoughts of positive comparisons. So it sort of looks like this. I'm so lucky my partner is in my life. I'm so happy because he is like blank blank versus why does he do that? I wish he was more like so-and-so, or why can't he be more like somebody else, real or imagined? That is crucial in having this true commitment versus that kind of conditional commitment, which involves those negative comparisons. So that's one thing. And then another that's sort of tied really closely with fondness and admiration is being able to have the positive habit of mind. So the positive habit of mind is, so you imagine walking into a room and scanning for everything that's good, everything you like in that room, and really focusing on and commenting on that. Instead of the negative habit of mind, imagine you're walking into a room and just looking for everything that you don't like, everything that's off or wrong, and really focusing on that. So in relationship, it's the same. You're scanning your relationship, your social environment for things that you appreciate, love, admire, that you respect, and then you're calling those out and pointing those out, versus walking into that, thinking about your relationship and just scanning for the things that you don't like, that critical negative habit of mind. I don't like that. Stop doing that. Don't do that. That really shifts things toward that negative perspective, versus in that positive habit of mind, with that scanning for positive, commenting and letting your partner know, or again, even friends, kids, coworkers. Then when you need to ask for something to be different, or you have a concern or a request, it's a lot easier for the other person to kind of hear that and go, yeah, that makes sense. You have a kind of a well stored up, we call it that emotional bank account stored up, where you could say, hey, this isn't working for me. Can we talk about how to do it differently? Then that's more effective. And then that also ties in one more. You're getting a lot of takeaways. One that is so important, and I'm sure you've had a lot of guests talk about this before, in the Gottman approach, it's that gentle startup, right? Just expressing feelings and needs, right? Talking about your own, what's going on for you in a certain situation, how you're feeling about it, and what you would need instead for things to be better. That's another crucial, soften your startup. And with that positive habit of mind in the background, it makes that all go much smoother.
Love that.
Sometimes there's just the little things, right, guys? Hi,
True.
Dave. Do you find that too, my friend?
Absolutely.
Just small things in your own marriage.
That's it. That's exactly it. Wow. Well, Stacy, let me ask you a couple of questions. We like to ask all of our guests. The first one is, with all your personal knowledge, your experience, your professional background, what do you feel like is a key to a stronger marriage connection?
So we have the, I don't know if anybody's ever talked about the 6 hours a week or the magic 6 hours before on the podcast, but
Go ahead, say more.
Yeah. So in the Gottman research, we found that successful couples are really spending 6 hours dedicated to their relationship every week. And that's broken up into different chunks and segments, maybe a date night is a couple hours, or just connecting at the end of the day and talking about kind of what happened in your day, what were the highs and lows, that's going to add up probably to an hour throughout the week. Those little connections, sometimes they're bigger, like a date night or having a longer chat on a weekend. 6 hours dedicated to the relationship, and that's kind of a minimum. I would imagine, if I never really have counted, I'd have to get my stopwatch going, but I'm sure my husband and I are way above that. I will say we don't have kids. We have dogs, and so we go for walks with the dogs, and we talk, and we have a lot of that kind of downtime. So we have a little bit more of that flexibility, but that focus on that it's a really important time to turn toward and connect those 6 hours. So that's one thing that's really helpful.
And I'm sure that is. And I even think that for some couples, they're like 6 hours, right? I don't even get 15 minutes this week or whatever it is. The craziness of the things that are going on. But you're right. Yeah, it does. You have to intentionally carve out time, quality, quantity time. So thank you. Yeah, love that.
So, Stacey, where can our listeners go to find out more about you? This tremendous resource for singles. It's called, what is it called again?
Lessons in Love.
Lessons in Love. I love it. And all the other great resources you have for helping couples in general. And then we're going to share that on our show notes.
Oh, great. So there's a couple ways. So people can get in touch with me directly. My website is my name, staceyhubbard.com. So I've got a lot of information there. You can contact me through the website. Then the Gottman Institute. So Gottman.com. And you'll see on the main page when you log in, there's a singles dropdown. And there's going to be information about upcoming workshops. So I've got one coming up in September. And then people are starting to put those on all over the world. And so it'll say live events, and you click on that and it'll show you the calendar of all the singles courses that are happening all over the world. Because we have developed a course, a leader's course, so that anybody, you don't even have to be a therapist or a psychologist. It could be a life coach, a pastor, a mentor, a chaplain. And so you can take that course and be approved to teach, and you'll have access to all the content. We have a really nice manual that we've created over the years, and a lot of extra tools and videos. And so that's the kind of the main hub, is just going to the Gottman website and clicking on that singles dropdown, and or reaching out to me.
Awesome. And we will
How
do that.
cool is that? Can I just ask, Stacey, it seems like that's probably the only program, right, that really anyone could teach.
Yes, it's similar to the 7 principles for couples, right? So there's the trainer course for 7 principles for couples, and that's something, again, anybody could train in, and that's to be able to facilitate those couples 7 principles courses. Then we added this singles train the trainer or the leader course, so that people can be trained to teach the specific content for singles. And I will say, even with the singles term obviously is important, but sometimes there's what we call individuals, right? They're in a relationship, but for whatever reason, maybe they want to work on their ability to show up in relationship, or beef up their skills. So sometimes, the people who are in those workshops might be, they're in a relationship, but they're coming solo, so they're individuals. So it can be either or.
Is the 7 principles the same as Lessons in Love, or are they two different, distinctly different courses? Then they cover different.
Yep,
they cover different topics.
Well, the focus in the 7P or 7 principles for couples is that you're going with a partner to that, or you're training to teach those to couples, versus the singles course. The focus
same principles, right? Same principles, I suppose, apply.
Roughly, yes. Obviously, with the singles course, there's a focus on dating. There's a focus on understanding those trust, the phases of relationship, how to determine who you can trust, like, kind of emotionally safe people, looking for signs of trustworthiness. And that there's also, that focus on the dating content, in addition to the bigger, the principles that apply.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Oh, that's very cool. Learned so much.
Yeah. And we'll put these links to the courses for our listeners in the show notes, as Liz mentioned. Hey, Stacy, before we wrap up our time together, we like to ask another question. That is a takeaway of the day. Is there a take-home message that you want our listeners to remember from our discussion today?
Would that be something we've already talked about?
It could be, yeah. If there's something you want to reemphasize and say, hey, yes, from all that we've talked about, this is what listeners I want them to remember. What do you think?
Yeah, with the focus on the fondness and admiration system in relationship, that applies to all relationships. So we know successful couples and just successful people have the ability to have that positive habit of mind, and to notice kind of what they admire and appreciate in their life and with their people they interact with, and they're sharing that those are successful people in relationships, in friendships, in life, that focus on the positive habit of mind and sharing what you appreciate and admire about the people in your life and what you have that you can be thankful for in your life. It just is a game changer. So that's something I try to focus on every day. It's really helpful. It's not always easy, but it's important.
Oh man. Yeah. That fondness and admiration. Amen. Yeah. Liz, what about you? What's your takeaway?
Yes. Well, that was it. That positive habit of mind. I've not heard that phrase before, Stacy. Did it used to be something different?
No, not that I know of. And so one thing that we know, and this wasn't Gottman research, this was some research done out of Israel. It's completely separate from marriage per se, but that people who have the positive habit of mind live 7 years longer. Because, for example, if they get cut off in traffic, right, somebody cut them off, they can kind of just let it go and say, like, they must be hurt. I'm not. I'm okay. Nobody's hurt. It's okay. And I'm assuming that has something to do with heightened physiology and being able to just allow, instead of getting heightened and to be able to just say, oh, no, I'm good. I'm not in a hurry. I'm okay. So there's something there with that, just the mentality that people with that positive habit of mind bring to life. Gratitude, I'm assuming it has a lot to do with that as well. So it's kind of a bigger concept outside of, per se, the Gottman research. Yeah.
I appreciate that so much. And I guess my takeaway, dear Dave, might be, it's what Stacy was saying about I don't really gush very well about my husband. It's just not my natural thing. And I would like to be better at that. When you say, Stacy, like, I'm so lucky my husband's in my life. I'm so lucky. We're so blessed. And I feel that way. And I imagine you say that so your husband can hear. I think that's really probably my takeaways. That's just so beautiful. I do believe that whatever we focus on definitely grows. And we see more evidence of it. So that's my takeaway. I'm going to stay with that one for the rest of the day. Dave, what about you? What's the most crucial insight we've discussed today, do you think, with our guest, Stacy Hubbard, that you hope we all take to heart?
Yeah, thanks, Liz and Stacy. Yeah, this has been interesting to think about. It's just a different lens, right? For singles who maybe are struggling and they're dating for fun or they're dating for marriage, but just these principles, I think, are critical. I want to piggyback on what both of you have talked about with that positive habit of mind. I've actually heard, I need to kind of verify this, I guess, but we're born with about 5 times as many neurons or brain cells that are wired for negativity and threat for every one brain cell that's wired for positivity and opportunity. So we already have this born with this negativity bias. I think that even singles, we see someone even online and we make a snap judgment in probably like less than a half a second. And like, okay, they'd be good. Are they cute? Or, just based on physical appearance. But I think that whole idea of that friendship, my wife, we dated in high school, like since our junior year in chemistry class. That's another story for another time. But we were just like,
of course it was chemistry class. That's true.
It was chemistry. Exactly. It was chemistry. There was a lot of chemistry going on in that class. But we were just like the best of friends. We just hung out together. We had so much fun together. I didn't even kiss her for like 6 months or something. It was just so much fun. And I think they base that on fun, on commonality, and keeping things light, not getting physical too fast. Those I think are will come to mind for singles who are in this. Is don't rush things. Yeah, don't jump in too fast. But yeah, keep it kind of fun instead of physical. Yeah, too fast. But anyway, it's been a great discussion. Thank you. Thanks, Stacy. Thanks for coming on, taking time from Oregon, right, to be able to come on and share some tips and some tools for us, for our listeners today. So thanks again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yes. Well, that's it for now, friends. We will see you again next time. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time with another episode of Stronger Marriage Connection podcast.
Indeed, we will. And remember, it's the small and simple things that create a stronger marriage connection. Take good care now.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a second to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel at Utah Marriage Commission, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. Be sure to smash the like button, leave a comment, and share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and interact with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Life and Facebook at Stronger Marriage. So be sure to share with us which topics you loved or which guests we should have on the show next. If you want even more resources to improve your marriage or relationship connection, visit strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, e-courses, in-depth webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producer, Rex Polanis, and the team at Utah State University, and you, our audience. You make this show possible. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Utah Marriage Commission.